Davido 2025. The year the world stood still for Afrobeats. A new dawn, the birth of 5EVE. By early 2025, Davido found himself at a crossroads of memory and ambition. The world had changed fast. Afrobeats had moved from local parties and Lagos nightclubs to global charts, foreign arenas, and an ever-expanding fanbase. For David Adedeji Adeleke, Davido, the journey that began with early singles and teenage dreams had matured into something bigger. A mission to not only celebrate African music but also carry its culture across continents. On April 18, 2025, he released his fifth studio album, titled 5EVE. The record was more than a collection of songs. It was a statement, a declaration of growth, resilience, and global ambition. The 17-track album featured collaborations spanning continents. Artists like Victoria Monet, Chris Brown, Becky G, and homegrown stars such as Omale. Through these collaborations, Davido fused Afropop with international rhythms, asserting that African music could no longer be confined by geography. 5EVE carried emotional weight too. It came after personal trials, loss, and reflection. Its tone was a balancing act, sometimes celebratory and optimistic, sometimes introspective and vulnerable. But throughout, it carried Davido's confidence that this album would set the tone for what Afrobeats, and he, could become. Critics and fans received the album with excitement. The release resonated not just in Nigeria, but globally. Many observed how 5EVE was more than music. It was a vision of African pride meeting global soundscapes. Little did the world know then how loud that vision would be heard. Taking off, the launch of the 5EVE Alive Tour. Shortly after releasing 5EVE, Davido dropped the announcement that would define his 2025, the 5EVE Alive Tour. The timing was perfect. The world was yearning for live music once again, and Davido was ready to deliver. The tour kicked off on July 11, 2025 at the Kia Forum in Los Angeles. What followed was a cascade of concerts, from San Francisco, Dallas, Houston, Denver, Minneapolis, to Toronto, New York, Boston, Philadelphia, and beyond. The tour spanned North America. By August, word spread that every show had sold out. For Davido, it was validation, not just that fans loved his music, but that African music could sell out major arenas abroad. Supporting him were rising stars such as Victony, Adamo Dubulfk, and Morave, voices that represent the next generation of Afrobeats talents. By including them, Davido didn't just perform. He lifted others with him. As the tour progressed, each city became a celebration. Arenas that once hosted foreign superstars now lit up to African rhythms, high-life-tinged beats, dancehall energy, and the crowd chanting in unison. For many first-time listeners abroad, this was their introduction to Afrobeats, and for loyal fans, a triumphant return of their favorite star. By the time Davido reached the final North American stop, State Farm Arena in Atlanta on November 20, 2025, it was clear. The 5EVE Alive Tour wasn't just successful, it was historic. Homecoming, bringing the tour back to Nigeria. But Davido's heart belonged to Africa. After conquering the world stages, he knew he had to bring that energy home. In mid-October 2025, he unveiled the Nigerian leg of the tour, tagged 5EVE Tour Nigeria, spanning 5 states. The dates: Akwa Ibom, October 26th, Adamawa, October 29th, Enugu, November 1st, Ibadan, November 9th, and Lagos, December 25th. For many, this was a homecoming long overdue. The first local concert was in Uyo, Akwa Ibom, at the God's Will Akpabio International Stadium, and it was nothing short of spectacular. Roughly 30,000 fans turned up. News outlets described the atmosphere as electric. Lights, pyrotechnics, cheers, dancing, a celebration of culture, identity, and music. Many felt proud. Here was a Nigerian artist who had broken foreign arenas now returning to shake up a hometown stadium. Local officials joined the celebrations. In Adamawa, after a performance at Mahmoud Ribadu Square, the state governor publicly welcomed Davido, praising his choice to include Adamawa in his tour and acknowledging the power of music to unite Nigerians across regions. As the tour moved to Enugu, Ibadan, and finally Lagos, the energy never died. Each city felt like a reunion. Old fans, new listeners, local artists, and even political leaders came together to witness what had become more than concerts, a celebration of a cultural movement. milestones and records, more than just shows. 2025 became the year Davido turned ambition into concrete achievements. The 5EVE Alive tour was not just a series of concerts, it was a statement: Afrobeats is global. The fact that every show in North America sold out, including major arenas, was itself a milestone, proving that music from Africa could command attention worldwide. But beyond selling out arenas, the tour had symbolic weight. In Akwa Ibom, the stadium show was reportedly the first time a 30,000 capacity venue there was completely sold out by a Nigerian artist. That opened doors, not just for Davido but for the possibility of future large stadium concerts across Nigeria, an idea that once seemed far-fetched. Moreover, Davido's 5EVE album was widely discussed as a turning point in his career, a maturation of sound and identity. With its global collaborations, diverse influences, and confident sound, 5EVE signaled his readiness to sit at the intersection of African roots and global pop. Music critics noted it as a bold, high-spirited assertion of his place in the modern music world. Through this, Davido reaffirmed something he's always believed: that being African in a global musical space is not a limitation, it's a strength. In doing so, he helped raise the profile of Afrobeats and inspired a new generation of artists who now see possibility, not boundaries. But perhaps most importantly, 2025 was a reset, a recalibration of Davido's own trajectory. He had moved from being a star among many to being a global representative of a movement. Impact beyond music, culture, identity, and legacy. Davido's 2025 wasn't just about concerts and records, it was about representation. With 5EVE, he reached across continents, not just for fame, but to say, "This is who we are. This is our music. This is our identity." As the album rolled out globally, many fans from different backgrounds heard African rhythms for the first time. Some danced, some listened. For many, it became an introduction to something new, something real. By touring across both North America and Nigeria, Davido narrowed the gap between the global stage and home soil. He proved that success abroad need not mean forgetting where you come from. Instead, you can bring the world to your roots, and bring your roots to the world. In cities like Adamawa and Akwa Ibom, his concerts were more than entertainment. They were community events. People from different backgrounds, old and young, locals and visitors, fans and passers-by, came together in shared joy. For many, it was a moment of pride, a moment of hope. It showed that big dreams don't have to stay abroad, they can be celebrated at home. Also, by including up-and-coming African artists as supporting acts, Davido spotlighted new talent, giving them exposure on global stages and proving that success can be shared. The ripple effect of that will likely be felt for years to come. Challenges, critics, and reflection. Of course, success rarely comes without scrutiny. After the release of 5EVE, some critics argued that the album, while energetic and bold, lacked the depth and consistency of his previous works. Some said parts of it were too celebratory, too commercial, that the emotional weight was light compared to earlier projects. There were also discussions around balancing global appeal and staying true to African roots. Collaborating with big international names opened doors, but some fans and critics worried that the soul of Afrobeats might get overshadowed. The pressure of being both a global star and a cultural ambassador weighed heavily. Then there's the challenge of expectation. With each success, the bar gets higher. After a sold-out tour and a major album release, fans will expect more, perhaps even bigger concerts, deeper songs, more collaboration. For Davido, 2025 was not just about celebrating a high, it was about setting the stage for what comes next. And internally, he had to reflect, what does it mean to be a global Afrobeats icon? Does success abroad validate the music? Or does staying grounded at home matter more? A vision for the future. What 2025 set in motion. By the end of 2025, Davido stood at the center of a changing music world. The accomplishments of the year: 5EVE the album, the 5EVE Alive global tour, the 5EVE Tour Nigeria, filled stadiums, record-breaking shows, had not just elevated him, but raised the bar for what African artists could achieve. For the next generation, the message was clear: dream big, but stay rooted. Use global platforms, but never forget home. Davido showed that an Afrobeats artist from Nigeria could sell out arenas in Los Angeles and fill a 30,000-seat stadium in Akwa Ibom within the same year. That duality, global star and hometown hero, is rare. He also set a blueprint, making albums that speak both to local and global audiences, touring strategically to build a worldwide fan base, carrying African culture internationally without diluting identity. For many, 2025 became the year Afrobeats truly stepped into global consciousness. To Davido's peers and newcomers, his success served as inspiration. The collaborations, the shows, the daring moves, all signals that the world is now open to African sound on a global scale. Behind the scenes, the man, not just the star. Behind the concerts, the lights, the sold-out crowds, is Davido the man, a figure balancing fame, culture, pressure, expectation, and identity. 2025 for him wasn't just about chasing numbers or streams. It was about affirmation that his music could resonate across continents, that his roots mattered, that his ambition was valid. We can imagine the long flights between cities, the backstage preparation, the studio sessions that birthed 5 EVE, the late-night rehearsals, the phone calls coordinating global collaborations. We can imagine the internal questions. Can I carry this responsibility? Will I stay true to who I am? But despite all the glitz and spotlight, Davido seems grounded. Tossed from local Lagos streets to global arenas, yet still tethered to Nigeria, to his motherland, his culture, his people. 2025 may have changed him, but it didn't erase where he came from. The final homecoming. December 25, 2025, Christmas Day. Eco Energy City, Lagos. This was the big one. 50,000 people. Celebrities. Politicians. International guests. Fans from Ghana, Kenya, South Africa, the US, UK, and Europe. It felt like a global festival on Nigerian soil. Davido stepped out wearing a glittering green and white outfit, representing Nigeria. When he performed Feel, the crowd sang so loud he removed the microphone and let them take over. When he performed Unavailable, the entire venue turned into a dance carnival. When he performed Stand Strong, he broke down in tears. This was more than music. This was legacy. This was home. Achievements of 2025. By the end of 2025, Davido achieved. Heavy Checkmark, a successful 5 IVE album with global impact. Heavy Checkmark, a fully sold-out North American tour. Heavy Checkmark, a record-breaking Nigerian stadium tour. Heavy Checkmark, the first artist to sell out Akwa Ibom 30,000-seat stadium. Heavy Checkmark, multiple award nominations. Heavy Checkmark, increased global collaborations. Heavy Checkmark, over 1 billion streams on 5 IVE. Heavy Checkmark, Afrobeats recognition in new markets. Heavy Checkmark, cultural influence across continents. 2025 marked a new chapter in his career. When Davido sat on his balcony on New Year's Eve, overlooking Lagos city lights, he felt something he hadn't felt in years. Peace. He had done it. He had carried Afrobeats across the world. He had returned home and lifted his people. He had bridged cultures. He had created memories that would live forever. 2025 wasn't just a successful year. It was a historic year. A year that proved Afrobeats could dominate the world. A year that reminded fans that Africa's sound is unstoppable. A year that placed Davido firmly among global music legends. And as fireworks exploded over Lagos skies, he whispered to himself, 2026 go loud. 2025 will likely be remembered as a landmark year in Davido's career. It's the year he redefined what success looked like for an African artist, not just through streams or awards, but through global impact, cultural representation, and bridging worlds. He didn't just release another album. He released a vision. He didn't just tour arenas. He returned home to unify fans across his country. He didn't just chase fame. He grounded it in identity. For fans, for aspiring artists, and for African music as a whole, Davido's 2025 is a testament to what's possible when talent, ambition, heritage, and timing converge. It's a story of growth, not just for one man, but for a movement. And as the year ends, the world watches. What's next for Davido? The global stage is open, but home will always be where the heart of Afrobeats beats the loudest.